Third, keep the device list real with serials, locations, and seals you can touch, not guess. An inventory should list each reader by make, model, serial number, firmware level, store or lane location, and assign steward with a phone number. And that list should reconcile to what sits on counters today. Daily inspection records matter because tamper attempts look like normal life until someone actually looks. Seals out of sequence, adhesives disturbed, screws marked, housings misaligned, or auxiliary ports plugged. A strong program pairs a short, photo-based checklist with date-stamped images that show the serial and the seal pattern together. Then stores those images where they can be sampled without a scavenger hunt. As an assessor, you will pick a handful of devices, walk to them, compare serials and seal numbers to the log, and read the signatures of who checked yesterday. If a seal was replaced, you expect to find the cause, the time, the supervisor's sign-off, and a follow-up inspection. The point is simple. Tamper evidence only works when someone actually inspects.
Fourth, lock down the entire device lifecycle so custody does not turn into a shrug. From receipt to activation, from swap to return, from storage to decommission, every move must leave a footprint that a stranger can follow. That means shipping records tied to serials, activation tickets that reference the store and lane where a reader went live, swap logs that match old to new with cause codes, and decommission steps that wipe, segment, or destroy as policy dictates. Boxes in back rooms should not contain unassigned readers with live keys. If they do, the program is not in control. A best-in-class flow puts unopened inventory in a locked cage, requires dual sign-off to open, and enables devices only as they travel with a documented chain of custody to the point of use. For devices that fail in the field, a return to vendor path that documents receipt, wipes, and refurbish status protects you from ghosts in future audits. The standard is not drama, it is paperwork you can point to and finish reading in minutes.
Fifth, treat every administrative function as a crown jewel pathway that must survive adversaries and accidents. Access to device management portals, remote update systems, configuration repositories, and monitoring consoles must require multi-factor authentication, sit behind segmented networks, and travel only through hardened jump paths whose sessions are recorded. The same goes for store-level support laptops and depot tools. They are not general computers. They are keys to the fleet and must live on a short leash. A practical record includes identity policy exports that show role memberships and token lifetimes, firewall or zero-trust broker rules that reveal who can reach what, and session capture logs that allow a reviewer to replay a maintenance action down to the command. When someone argues for convenience, the answer is short. These tools are privileged conduits into the encryption head. A mistake here breaks your boundary. An assessor will follow a sample admin action from request to approval to session to result and expect that the traces line up perfectly. Sixth, clarify key roles in language that leaves no wiggle room. A key custodian is a named person authorized to hold a piece of power within a ceremony, and no single custodian can ever access a complete secret. Dual control means two people must act together to cause a sensitive outcome. Split knowledge means no one person knows both halves of any critical key component. Ceremony documentation is not a sprint retrospective. It is a formal packet that names participants, defines steps, records serials and hashes, captures video when appropriate, and includes independent witness acknowledgments. Your policy should state who can serve as a custodian, how substitutes are approved, what happens when a step cannot proceed, and how evidence is sealed and stored. In practice, that packet is what defends you 6 months later when memories blur. For the PCIP lens, clarity here is the difference between "we trust our people" and "we share power by design and can prove it." Seventh, store keys only inside hardware security modules, HSMs, or validated cryptographic modules, and design policies so export is both prohibited and technically impossible. The module is the vault for symmetric and asymmetric material that steers decryption and device keys, and its access policies must align with your dual control and split knowledge rules. Lifecycle policies then govern generation, transport of wrapped components when absolutely necessary, activation, rotation, archival, and destruction, with each phase leaving signed records. Backups belong in equally protected modules, not on tapes with a label and hope. As an assessor, you will ask to see key policy exports, role definitions in the HSM, event logs that show administrative actions with timestamps, and an architecture diagram that makes it clear which systems can present key operations and which cannot. If any word in your environment suggests export to a file, your design has a hole. Control is not a promise. It is a boundary enforced by silicon and process together. Ninth, prove that decryption is possible only at the approved endpoint and nowhere else in your sphere. If your solution provider hosts decryption, your applications must never carry a library or a credential that could unwind ciphertext locally. If a gateway performs decryption, the path must be narrow and auditable, with brokered connections and policies that reveal every request. A strong assurance exercise injects a benign, controlled transaction, captures it at the earliest in-house hop, and shows encrypted content on wire and disk. It then follows the same transaction to the decryption service and shows the only place where plaintext lived. Repeat the capture during maintenance windows to ensure policy relaxations do not open a backdoor. If a developer demonstrates a local test harness that temporarily decrypts payloads, the program must show the revocation, the code removal, and the witness sign-off. An assessor will try to find plaintext. Your job is to make that impossible by design and obvious in records. 10th, reconcile provider paperwork against your lived deployment so validation is more than a buzzword. Keep the current provider attestation, the official component lists with make, model, and firmware for approved devices, and the version update notices that might change your obligations. Then, at least quarterly, compare that list to your inventory and open changes for anything that drifted. A store with older firmware, a depot still activating a retired model, or a region lagging a configuration rule. For each provider update, attach your internal test results and rollout plan so the evidence pack tells a whole story: what changed upstream, how you verified, and when you finished. In the assessor's eye, reconciliation is a mark of maturity because it proves you do not hold your breath waiting for audit season. When validation is a living alignment rather than a static certificate, surprises shrink. 11th, train frontline staff like they are the last meter of the boundary, because they are. Cashiers, managers, depot technicians, and field engineers must know how to handle devices, what a good seal looks like, what a broken one means now, and how to escalate without delay. Training that works includes real photos from your fleet, short drills that ask someone to spot tamper evidence, and phone trees that reach security quickly with a case number and stop use instruction. For technicians, add clean hand procedures, custody forms, and specific language about never opening housings outside authorized settings. Keep rosters, completion dates, and quick effectiveness checks. If a store with perfect training has never logged a single seal issue while others do weekly, you have a signal to examine. The PCIP lens values training only when it produces observed behavior. Signatures without action are theater. 12th, preserve evidence like you plan to win the argument on a rainy day with a new auditor. Inventories with serials and locations, seal logs with photo proof, key ceremony packets with participant names and hashes, and incident reports with times and outcomes must live where they can be read by role and date without heroics. Use consistent timestamps in UTC, give artifacts a short caption that says what they prove, and apply retention that matches legal and operational needs, longer for keys and incidents, shorter but sufficient for daily checks. Access to evidence should itself be auditable, especially for sensitive packets, and sampling should be routine in governance forums so you catch drift early. When a regulator or card brand asks for a particular week's story, your answer should be a link to a tidy shelf, not a week of forensics. Clarity and order are part of control. They are not nice-to-have extras. 15th, close today with an action that teaches the habit you want. Audit 10 devices now, chosen across locations and conditions, and record serials, seals, photos, and steward names in a single entry that reconciles against your system of record. Note any mismatch and open tickets that are due this week, not someday. Then attach before and after photos when you fix them. In parallel, schedule a key rotation review on the calendar with named custodians, a draft ceremony script, and a checklist of the evidence you will produce: signatures, logs, hashes, and witness acknowledgments. Announce the date and the acceptance criteria to leadership and to your solution provider so everyone sees the standard you intend to hold.
Small, visible steps move the culture from good intentions to proof, which is the only currency that counts in assessment. Finally, stitch the story into a conclusion you can use on the exam and in the field. P2PE narrows scope when encryption starts at the head and never relaxes, when devices are known and checked, and when administration lives on short, recorded paths. Cryptographic keys remain trustworthy when power is shared by design, when modules enforce policy, and when life cycles are written in signatures and time. Providers add assurance when their lists match your drawers and their updates match your reality. And people become part of the control when training turns into escalations that are measured, not hoped. Keep artifacts organized by intent boundary, custody, key, provider, people, so any reviewer can reproduce your conclusions stepwise. Do today's 10-device audit and schedule that rotation review. Then repeat the cycle until neither surprise nor memory stands between you and the truth you can show. That is the standard a professional assessor brings to payment systems, and it is the habit that keeps customers safe. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.